Composable architecture is everywhere in e-commerce right now, but is it something that your business actually needs? Well, today we are going to discuss exactly this, together with two tech leaders, Morten Ness from Bluestampy and Tommy Essemholm from Weimar. We're going to discuss in which cases businesses should actually consider switching to composable commerce, and in which cases they just should stay with Monolith. This talk is going to get very technical, but if you're leading the e-commerce strategy in your company, stay with us. Right now, what we've observing is that a lot of companies, they want to shift from monolith to composable ecosystems. And I have this question for you guys. Do you think it's just a trend?
It's not a trend. I think it's here to stay. I think like if you compare the monolith way of doing things, I think that is a something maybe not in the past, but kind of on the downward slope, because it means that you are not really in control yourself. Clients, they are becoming better and better, and then they want to be fully in charge of what they can do. And for instance, here's another good thing with Bluestone. I think that your ability to extend the functionalities on your own, more or less. And if you have a team that knows where to go and want to explore more things, the composable way of doing it and developing stuff in and around the core is much better in a composable ecosystem to me. And that's the trend that we see, that you don't want to wait for somebody, some vendor to incorporate the feature you need into their roadmap. You want to be able to execute on it when you need it, so to speak.
Do you think that some companies should stay with monolith and not go composable?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I mean, it puts you in the driver's seat. But if you don't have a driver's license, if you don't know what you're doing, then it's better to stay on the monolith, because what you will know is that within the feature set that is in the monolith, that will work at least. And I think, Morten, you touched upon some of the things that are required if you want to take full advantage of composability, and that is actually that you know what you're doing. If you don't know that, stay on the monolith.
Yeah,
That's
I
my advice. But
absolutely agree with you. I'm like, even though we're like fully composable, I think it's not for everyone, and so fully agree on that.
Right now, we see a lot of disruptions in the market. It's trade wars, European regulations like digital product passport. So I have this question to you guys. Why monolith systems can't keep pace?
I was in Chicago for a week last week, and I have not been able to catch up with the latest AI things that I'm like normally addicted to, and I'm like, I'm behind. You know, what the changes are coming so fast now. And that's why I think that the monolith approach is a weak one for many, because you cannot turn around, you know, development and um, everything that you're trying to accomplish in the pace to keep up with what's happening with the technology and everything else. And also, just like, one thing is technology, the other thing is tariffs, right? I saw that in Chicago last week. A CTO, a friend of mine, who was basically sitting at lunch going, "Oh crap! I have to update my ERP because the new tariffs, and I have to move, you know, some stock around from warehouse to a different country, blah blah blah, something." Right? The changes are happening so quickly, and yeah, I think that that's why you need also technology that can or has the possibility to turn around at least fairly quickly compared to a monolith. That's my take on it.
yeah, and from my side, I mean, I think it's like we talked about before. I think that it is about a monolith is like a system that you develop, which is more or less generic in its kind of angle going into it. So you're trying to provide software for a lot of people, and per se, then you can't kind of satisfy all the requirements that are out there. You're gonna have to settle for, here's the main lane. these are the features that are out of the box, and we can of course have a roadmap where we talk about how we should develop stuff, but what we can see is there are different needs from vertical to country regions, and there are also a lot of different things where you cannot satisfy all requirements if you're building a generic solution. So the solution therefore must be that you have something that you can adapt a little bit yourself without disruption to any performance or stuff like that. So if you have a central core where you can definitely share development between as many as possible, but you also have the ability to cater it and to tailor made it for your needs. That's really what you want. And I think that the monolith per se, per definition, cannot do that for all verticals and all companies.
We know that composable architecture has many benefits. However, it probably has some challenges as well. So, if you would like to discuss the challenges of composability, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, well, so of course, yes, there are challenges because now all of a sudden you have to yourself or somebody that you work with, like Vimo, for instance, you need somebody like that to overlook what it is you need to be doing in all these different systems, right? So you have to have a way of sending information between different systems, as you're probably going to have more system that caters for just this type of thing. And what we can see is definitely that it can become challenging if you don't know what you want to do, and if you didn't really do your homework in setting this up in a good way. We can see that the budgets are easily getting overrun if you don't have a central steering of what it actually is that you're doing, because all of a sudden it's you who builds with the Lego box and there is no drawing. You have to come up with the drawing yourself in you know in aspect of getting something ready, which have a blueprint already. So those are definitely the some of the key challenges that we can see, and also with the governance of this over time. So if you don't have a strong internal product owner, it can also be challenging for sure.
Well, composable architecture, I think that the easiest analogy are the classical Lego blocks, where you connect sort of systems and components together. The idea is that these are interchangeable. If something does not work out, you can basically pull this stuff apart again. And it's not like making a model ship or something where you glue everything together. I think that that's like the analogy of a monolith where you glue everything together. So I think that that's the a few sentences about the composable architecture. The challenges that we're talking about here with composable architecture is that when you put these Lego blocks together, it's not as simple as, okay, just put them together and that's it. They have to communicate, right? And that's why also we have like the MACH alliance and that whole thing, with trying to make standards of how to communicate and all of that. So those are some of the challenges that you're trying to solve and the complexity. And I think that Tommy put it perfectly earlier here, where you talked about, yeah, it's not about just buying a car. It's also about having a driver's license to be able to drive that car. And I think that that's a good analogy.
Who can benefit from composable architecture, in your opinion? Martin, what do you think?
So, in my opinion, you have to have some sort of complexity before you start benefiting from this. If you are, I mean, if you are a small shop that and you sell, uh, you know, 300 products and that's it that you make yourself or something, then a composable architecture does not make sense. Please just buy Shopify and do your thing. Um, some sort of complexity is sort of a prerequisite for needing composable architecture. Um, but I think that it goes it's broader than you might think. It's definitely for the huge enterprises. They can benefit a lot from this, but also smaller businesses, not necessarily multinational huge uh, enterprises. They can also benefit from this, but you can also use less components because that's something that is not talked about that much. Whenever people are talking about, especially composable architecture, where it goes wrong, what I've seen often is that okay, but you have like a PIM, you have promotions, you have the commerce system, you have search, you have all these systems, and you have like 7 or 8 systems talking together. But maybe, you can solve some things differently with just 2 systems, right? And especially if you think about B2B, like a B2B setting, definitely you could have a very much, simpler composable architecture that would work well for your business needs.
Yeah, I mean, who benefits from composability is definitely like, again, I'm feeling I'm repeating myself, but if you know really what you're doing, you are in a position to kind of add add even more efficiency because you can tailor made it. Like if you have what everybody else having, then you're kind of stuck with that. But composability enables you to kind of be different and position yourself, and that's really good. And especially when things are changing, like we talked about before, then you can be faster and more agile to make sure that you encapsulate that or you benefit from the market changes. So in an environment like this, I would say that those who are composable in their setup will be faster, to adopt to changes.
So we know that when the system is truly composable, it means it's API first, it's microservices based. So, what kind of extensions can e-commerce teams get on top of their PIM system?
Well, that's a big thing, and I think this is touching on some of the uniqueness for Bluestone PIM is the sort of the extensions and what you can do on top. And we have on our what we call extensions hub instead of marketplace. It's just th- there are a lot of extensions, not just connectors. It's not just like a connector to Algolia or Commerce Tools or something, which we also have, but it's actual like value adding extensions. We have stuff like price management service that you can add onto the PIM. We have a advanced bundle configurator, where you can add onto the PIM, um, and also bringing to the point you're talking about, the point you're bringing up here with DPP, which is definitely something that we're adding to the PIM, an extension like that. So this is all about the flexibility and the needs that the clients have, and I think that, yeah, Tommy, you probably have something to say about this, because enterprises don't always need a PIM in a box. They have things that they need to solve.
Yeah, definitely, Morton. And I think that I mean we can see a lot of different and we can benefit from the extensions that is already there because that means that we start off with the code base already, which makes it cheaper for our clients because we don't start from a blank paper more or less. But what we also can see is that we have industry databases, we have standards that some of our companies want to adhere to, such as GS1 or ETIM or these type of things. And by connecting into that and building applications that would automate some of the things that needs to be done manual today, we feel that we can innovate quite a lot with this extension or marketplace as you have, which I think is super interesting to a lot of our clients, and it makes us, you know, really add value to what the clients are doing. Because if they say, "Hey, we've been doing this for all time, as long as I remember, there's no other way," and all of a sudden we can incorporate that all into their their flow of information. That is pretty cool. Um, and and um, and it adds a lot of value in terms of time to market or whatever it might be. So I love this with where you are able to really solve use cases specific to each of the client's needs.
Hmm. So it means that the companies can approach it differently. Right now, they can come to, I don't know, to the PIN provider, for instance, and just say, I have this challenge. Can you solve this for me?
Well, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's so I can take a concrete example. So there's a lot of, if you wanna if you're a distributor of food products, then the a lot of the product information is already submitted into the DS1, and it's ready to be downloaded. But as that is a manual task, and then it's a little bit cumbersome, and if there are changes done by the supplier, those are not always flagged. But by having this all automated and connected into the systems, that will happen automatically, and everything will be right. And if you think about food products, and especially the US market, where you need to have accurate information, like let's say for allergens, for instance, this is really a crucial thing. And the pain point there is if you don't have the correct information, you can be penalized pretty heavily with lawsuits and stuff like that. And here's a concrete example when we can use the extension hub and the PIM to really bridge that gap and make sure that this doesn't happen. And of course, that has a huge value if you start to look at the business case. And to me, as a consultant, to be able to solve that with modern technology is really why we go up every day and do the job, right?
Hmm. Um, let's also talk more about digital product passport regulation because right now many companies, a lot of professionals are worried and they don't know how to get ready. Morten, you're very chill about this, and you just say that, yeah, we will have extension once the DPP regulation comes into place. So, how can companies right now prepare, even like before the regulation
Is there?
um, comes to life?
Um, yeah, I think the it's even though the regulations are not in place, it's obvious for some verticals where this is going. We already see some regulations coming into play. We saw it from in France. They already have some stuff in play for clothing, and I've seen some stuff on batteries and things like that. So for different verticals, there are some obvious things that are happening, and I think if these uh, try to look at it's obvious where they're trying to go to trace sort of yeah, and where they're going. So that's definitely possible to prepare. What I've said and why I'm chilled about it is that when I've looked into it, it's basically all about um, attributes and flexibility. And we have that, so that's why I'm not worried, because we have attributes and very flexible attribute model, and also the possibility to build this on the side using extensions. And that means that you're not putting an attribute model into the PIM itself, but you can make your own DPP thing with its own data store on the outside, which is capable to scale. Because that's the next question: is what is the depth that you're looking at here? Because we are talking about uh, down to batch numbers, and actually the locating the product themselves. So if you're talking about, you can imagine for H&M, for example, they have in Bluestamp Him, they have a million products in 90 languages covering 110 markets or something like that. Imagine how many actual like individual products we're talking about. How many t-shirts, how many socks, and that's the thing that you're actually tracing with DPP, where you're supposed to trace the actual product back to wherever you want to go. And that complexity is a different ball game, and that's where we have sort of specialized partners who sort of specialize in that if you want to really dive into it. So I think that I've said that DPP is, don't worry about it, but also there is more to the story, of course, when you start looking at the complexity and the depth of it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I love the fact that whenever we have a new regulation, such as DPP, that will require basically every company gets like a digital product passport for every single product. And these companies, they don't have to go and like uh, get a new piece of technology. They could just integrate this extension into their PIM and it all works perfectly together. It's pretty easy. It sounds easy. I know it's like there is like the
There's a
depth
little bit
into this,
more
but
to it.
it's
Let's hope it works perfectly. Yeah, but no, jokes aside, I think that that's exactly what the sort of the architecture behind Bluestone PIM is made for. If you have these regulation changes, I mean, we had a client who yeah, talking about the France regulations that came into play. They just basically showed us. They didn't even talk with us. They're like, yeah, we made this new attribute model with the new categories, categories, and we put these new regulation attributes that we needed. And on Bluestone, you have a full history service also. So every time that changes, it's put into the history service, and you can subscribe to that. So they had everything they needed without even talking to us. So yeah, this showcases some flexibility, but I know that that DPP is more than that. But I think that one thing that we need to realize also is that there are different needs here. I always use this gas station analogy, right? When you go to a gas station, they serve also food. They have hot dogs and burgers, and it's not a culinary experience, but it's okay because you know that going into it, so you can it's a hot dog to get you home. Fine, I'll eat that. And the same thing you can think about with these extensions. Some of these extensions that we provide is not uh, uh, you know like all-encompassing features, but it's enough to get you through the day, or it's enough to get you home, and that's in many use cases that's enough. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I
what?
think from my side, I agree with Morten. I'm not concerned. It is all about attributes and displaying them. And I think that in terms of when we get the regulations, that will be fairly easy. We are already for some clients doing it, but we didn't have the full definition of. But the kind of the technical setup is already there, so we are able to say, take this attribute, that attribute, and this attribute, and display it in this way. Here's the QR code. So that doesn't worry me either. And I also would like to say that this is also when I talk to people, say, hey, we're going to have all this information now. Yes, and it's true, but it will land heavily on the manufacturers. They will be the ones that we are looking to provide this information, and for the rest of the chain downstream, we more or less to be able to uh, import that information and have it also in their systems, of course. But a lot of these type of things will be provided in the beginning, and if the chain is right and the connectivity between everybody, then it shouldn't be a problem downstream, more or less. But I've been so there's many years ago there was this project for I think it was for fishing, actually, fish products, where back in the days you just sold it, right? So nobody knew where it was, and then this EU regulation came along. I think it was called HAV 52 in Sweden or something like that, where you needed to kind of know which boat in what sector of the North Atlantic Sea the fish was caught, and all that. And that was a big kind of, how will this go? This will never work. And there were contributions from the EU to kind of incorporate the technology, but that went fine. And I think that this is very much the same. It's about traceability, to make sure that you have an understanding where the product, what stages the product has gone through, more or less. But it will be interesting. But I think that we feel fairly confident and ready. We know how to help our clients once they get into it. And yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to learn more about composable architecture or e-commerce tech trends, consider following Boost and Pim on LinkedIn or subscribing to our channel. And just so you know, we read every single comment, so consider writing one. Thank you so much, and see you next time.